Yeah, so basically I've pretty much been fighting obesity since probably 2005.
Thank you for coming on here. It's a new show, but hopefully we can reach a few people and tell a few stories and
Yeah, absolutely.
and help some people. So yeah, I was thrilled when you offered to come on and tell your story because yeah, I've heard it a couple of times and it's definitely worth telling. So I guess why don't we just get started, and if you want to start where you want to start and just let us know how you got started with keto or how you got to that point in the first place.
Yeah, so basically I've pretty much been fighting obesity since probably 2005. Long story short, came to a head in 2010. I tipped the scales about 600 pounds, had weight loss surgery. We had, actually my wife and I had the sleeve gastrectomy in 2010 or 11. 11, 3 weeks apart from each other. So long story short, got down to as low as 400 pounds. And basically just old habits crept back in. And pretty much from that point, I got to the point where I was about 520 pounds in August of 2018. My doctor said, hey, I want you to try keto. Gave me a book to try, which is Simple Keto. And the rest is history. I've had some rough patches where I've gained weight. And actually, if you've listened to my story, I've talked about it a couple times about how I've struggled with mental health, and a lot of the weight gain is just psychotropics. So, just basically being on medication, eating. So that's pretty much where I'm at now. I got back down below 400 pounds last week. I was in December. I was as high as 442. 442 is where I think I was in December. And I finally said to my doctor, I'm like, you need to take me off this one medication. It's basically causing me to gain weight, and slowly I've been losing. I started carnivore back in January, and I've lost 30 pounds since then. So it's been really good. The discipline I've learned. I've gone from a guy that could drink an iced coffee a day to and 2 energy drinks a day to not having an energy drink since January 3rd, which is almost 90 days. So hey, that's huge for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going back to the one thing you said there, and I know you've talked about it before, but having a doctor that actually prescribed keto. It would certainly be nice if there was more of that in the world, to have doctors actually encourage it instead of trying to talk people out of it.
My doctor, I've been with her since 2014, and we've tried everything to curb the appetite. We've tried injectables in the morning to try to cure. And pretty much all it was is just me eating garbage. Back in the day, I would pound out a 30-minute cardio session and then justify myself with a Snickers bar. It's it makes no sense. Yeah. So I don't know. It was one of those things that I finally, just being low carb the last almost 3 years has been really a game changer for me, because and I apologize, my dogs are rustling in the background. It's basically been one of those things where I've learned so much, Doug, so much from this, sorry.
Yeah, you definitely have to relearn your relationship with food,
Mhm.
and that was the same way too. I used to, before I started keto, it was just junk.
Yeah.
I would never take the time to eat anything. Even when I wasn't low carb, I would hardly eat anything quote unquote healthy that wasn't.
Mhm.
It was always just junk food, what was easy, what was quick. And
Yeah.
you're right. It's going keto. Like once you can actually get on a roll with it,
Mhm.
you lose that desire, and you remember how crappy you felt when before, right?
Yeah, and so I'll give you an example. Like September last year, my wife and I went to Disney World during the pandemic and everything, and I just decided, you know what? I'm going to eat whatever I want to eat. And lo and behold, I got home and I gained 25 pounds. And I remember being at one of the theme parks at the last day of our trip and just not wanting to do anything. I felt like utter garbage, and I was just like, I can't do this again.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like one of those things where, oh yeah, you're at Disney, take a break, it's you deserve it, blah 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 blah. The one thing I hate, and this just goes for me, is like the I deserve it mentality. Like I used to be one of those, again, going back to the workout. I would, do a really good, 700 calorie burn on cardio, and oh, I deserve it. I'm gonna go get this. You don't, you know,
Mm-hmm.
it's just changing the mindset.
Yeah,
And if
yeah,
anything, and yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, I had to. It was exactly the same thing for me.
Mhm.
You have uh, to look back and remember why you did it. And I don't.
Mhm.
uh, I actually started for weight loss, but it so drastically changed the way I felt, and it
Mhm.
cleared up issues I had with digestion and everything. So
Mhm.
like almost completely. So to me, it's not worth that, one day or even one meal of just eating whatever I want again. So
And it's funny, since so December is when I started losing again after being off that one medication. And I'm like, during last year, it was just, it was one of the things where I went to the grocery store. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to buy some Red Bull. I'm going to stock up on it because you never know. Stuff might hit the fan. I bought 6 pints. I literally have 5.5 pints in my fridge.
wow,
Like,
I couldn't do that.
yeah. So since I've been carnivore, I've just dabbled a couple times. It just tastes different to me, and I really have no desire for it. You
Sure.
know, and again, keto keto is like brought me here. I
Hmm.
need to go higher and learn even more discipline. I mean, much to my wife's chagrin, I'm like, I can count on one hand how many vegetables I've eaten, like how many servings of vegetables I've eaten since. So,
Yeah, I didn't do like carnivore month or anything. I did a
mm,
week or so in January, and
yeah,
I'm mostly meat already.
yeah,
Like I do eat some vegetables because they don't seem to bother me too much. But yeah, I do. I definitely feel better just
mhm.
eating meat. It's
Just the inflammation that I
mhm,
felt during that trip. Like, I mean, we got back about a month ago, and like just the inflammation I felt from like not knowing what I'm cooking
mhm,
really makes a difference.
yeah,
So it kind of changed our thinking, to where we need to be smarter about things. And plus I wasn't eating enough. Like, I mean, I eat on average about 2,700 to anywhere from 3,000 calories a day because I'm 6'10".
yeah,
So, I'm a big guy.
yeah,
Um, but I, I, I was probably hitting about 2,000 calories plus if you walk 11, 12 miles a day, you're burning just as much.
right.
So like there was a lot of problems. So it's kind of just a lot of things I've learned in the last 3 months, and just
Sure.
you know it's just an extra layer of discipline.
Yeah, yeah. I think well, uh, I started like in January of 2019, I think, January 1st. It was one of these, I'm done. I'm going to do this. And
Yeah.
2 years in, so the end of last year,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't like I was going off the rails all the time and eating a bunch of junk, but I did allow way too much of the substitutes to creep in, I guess.
Yeah.
And I put on a few more pounds, and
Mm-hmm.
it's the same thing. January 1st came around again. I'm like, I just threw out all the, the keto stuff and
Yeah.
started again. And, and again, it's just a reminder of, why you start, and, it comes back pretty quick, I guess.
It really does. And like, it really does, because like the amount of like maturity that when I started in August of 2018, anything that was anything that was keto, I would like shove in my gullet.
Mm-hmm.
So like anything that like, I mean, there was this stuff on Amazon called Keto Manna, and it was just, I don't even know what the ingredients were, but it was just like, oh yeah, it's like nut butter. It'll, and it was expensive. It was like $42 for a 10 pack. And I would just, it was just like anything.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you realize you kind of fine tune a little bit, and you get down to, oh, this has this, that's bad. Maltitol is evil. It's like all these things that like when you're starting out and you don't really know, like if you go to the grocery store, there's so much crap that has keto on it and people just buy it up when it's just simple ingredients. It's like one of those things where it's just like,
No, I think the products have a place. I think, it's like you say, once you're first starting, if you're one of those people that needs something to get over that edge that it has at the beginning. And I was the same way. I was eating mayonnaise and bacon and and like store-bought stuff and just store-bought dressings that didn't have sugar in it, and like all the different things. And I'm thinking, and it was working for me.
Yeah.
But then after a while, it's like, okay, well, I guess I'll just make this and make my own mayonnaise, make my own dressings. And then you start really looking at the ingredients. You're like, oh, this is, it might be low carb, but it's not very good for you. So.
A lot of that. Yeah. And that's the thing, like, so like I've learned to, one of my big hobbies is like smoking. I have a couple of pellet smokers, so I like smoke meat all the time. And like I've even looked at like what rubs I use on brisket and stuff like that. I don't use like high sugary rubs or anything like that. It's just, if I do brisket, salt, pepper, garlic, simple, clean. And like, it's so like, it's amazing that like how much you can spend in the beginning just to get the keto stuff. But it's like one of those things where it's, if you like really pay attention to what you're buying and like learn that you can actually make it yourself, it makes a difference.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you're right. A lot of the keto stuff, and I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. Here in Canada, we still don't get a lot of the products that you guys have on the shelves down there.
Yeah.
Like we have a keto store in town that carries a lot of the different things, but not near, like we don't have any of the keto cereals, and there's very little keto ice cream available, and like a lot of that stuff's not even available. I was ordering it from places like Perfect Keto and Keto Brick and everything else, but I can't even do that right now because you can't even get it across the border for,
And that's the thing. Like I love products like Keto Brick because it's like, but again, as I've like grown accustomed to the lifestyle even further and gone even deeper, I don't really buy them anymore because it's like, okay, well, if I'm matching, if my macros are around the same with protein and fat, then I don't really want to like really tip the scales, towards the fat, because that'll be really hard to make up. So it really doesn't fit right now. If I was running like 60, 70 grams more fat, then yeah, that would be more easier.
Yeah,
To
for
accomplish.
sure. You're right. It's, again, it has its place, and,
Mhm.
looking into the history of the keto brick and who makes it. And it's kind of, Robert's a great guy, and,
Oh yeah.
he's quite the specimen, but that's his sort of protocol, right? Like, that's the way he is. And it's the same with me. I try to keep the protein and the fat 1-to-1 now,
Mhm.
as best
Yeah.
I can. I'm the same way too. I haven't, the last year or so, I haven't eaten I've eaten way under what I should.
Mhm.
So I've been trying to increase the protein quite a bit
Mhm.
lately. But yeah, it's, you're right. I guess a lot of the treats and everything, and once you get into carnivore too, you're kind of, like, I understand that once you're carnivore, you just don't really even want it that
Yeah.
much, and they don't
And
really fit at all, anyways.
it doesn't fit. But not only that, but it's I'm just the type of person that, like, I don't know, and probably I'll get yelled at by my doctor, but I've been really on a steak kick lately. So
Mm-hmm.
like we'll literally go to Costco and buy a strip loin roast, and I'll eat
Mm-hmm.
that for like 2 to 3 weeks.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
it's like, if it, I mean, it's just easier. I work from home, so of course I pretty much can, like, dictate what I eat, which
Sure.
is
Yeah.
really great because it saves me a ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not like, I literally would probably go to Five Guys 4 to 5 times a week.
Okay.
Just
Yeah.
being on the go and everything like that. And like one thing I even learned with carnivore is that, like, so Danny Vega's program, it has a spreadsheet. So the if you add what you've eaten into the spreadsheet, it calculates, um it basically calculates what you've eaten and what your macros are. And I put it in the spreadsheet, and it would just totally be off.
Mm-hmm.
So the guys from the Keto Man's Club that were doing the cut with me, they're like, why don't you just make your own,
Mm-hmm.
just make your own hamburger bowls and do it like that, because it's clearly not working for you.
Mm-hmm.
My buddy Alberto Casillas, he he basically said, I challenge you not to go to Five Guys the rest of the cut. And I have been once
Mm-hmm.
since January 27th. So now I have cut sugar for the most part. I've cut soda. I've cut energy drinks. Now I've cut Five Guys.
Hmm.
Pretty much my biggest cruxes are like gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. Five Guys is one thing. It's funny. They've been in this city for quite a while, and I've been
Mhm.
once, been like
Mhm.
the last 2 months ago or something.
Yeah.
It was enjoyable. Holy cow, is it expensive here?
Yeah, it can
It's
it can get expensive.
yeah. So
Especially, if I'm like trying to meet macros, I get 4 patties. It's probably about $13.
sure.
So it's not cheap.
Yeah. Yeah. I usually just cook up 3 or 4 extra hamburgers anytime
Yeah.
I'm cooking them, but I typically live off, just ground beef and pork
Yeah.
for lunches. So
Yeah. I mean, I gave in to my wife. My wife wanted cream cheese bacon wrapped peppers tonight, so that's what we
mhm,
had for dinner. So like,
that sounds good.
yeah, I've pretty much told her I'll eat veggies 2 to 3 days a week.
Hmm.
That's it. I'm about 80-20 carnivore at this point,
Sure.
because
Yeah.
it's working. And like,
Hmm.
I mean, as long as my blood levels are okay and everything is like that, I'm good.
Sure. Yeah. No, I
So,
hear you. But it's all about how you feel, right?
mhm.
It's,
Yeah.
it's uh, whatever works. You don't want to stop doing it.
Mhm.
So how's have you been able to work out in the last year down there, or the gym's been closed, or?
So it's been a struggle in New York.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
in fact, gyms have been open since August. I did have an elliptical, and I have a rower at home.
Mm,
And honestly, um, I've been able to work out now. The problem that I have is I'll just go to the gym and I'll do what feels good and not really have a focused program. So again, one of the things I've learned during the cut was doing something like the Keto Gains 5x5 program, where it's just basically 5 exercises, 5 focused things. You do it, 3 days a week, 2 days cardio, and it's balance.
Right.
Yeah. Where normally I would just go and, okay, today's leg day, and just disorganized chaos. It's not really, I wasn't really seeing any gains.
Yeah. It's working out definitely is, and I've had a hard time getting to the point where I go enough to put anything structured in place.
Yeah.
We haven't really been able to go to the gyms at all here in the last year, so.
I'm looking forward to just going to Canada. Like, I have my I want to go, but like the borders shut down. I mean, have you ever been to Niagara Falls on the American side of Niagara Falls? Nope.
Oh yeah.
So not fun.
Yeah, it's we go to Niagara Falls, Canada at least once or twice a year, and I've been on the American side as well.
You survived.
Yeah. It's the whole border situation right now is just
it's a mess.
It is a mess for sure.
Yeah.
So with this cut that you're doing, you guys incorporating any fasting, or is it just?
Honestly, if I really wanted to fast, I could, but then I'd have an insurmountable hill to climb with trying to meet my macros every day. So like, at best, usually what I do is I usually eat dinner around 6 p.m. and then usually I start work around 10 o'clock. So around 9:30, I'll cook up my eggs in the morning. And then, I usually go to the gym about 8:30, 9 o'clock. So I'll get a quick workout in, and then I'll come home, eat my breakfast, and then start working.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. You're right. It's definitely tough if you're trying to keep those macros on point. And I had the same problem last year because I spent most of the year trying to do like a 20x4 fast at best. And then I was just miserable trying to eat that much in 4 hours. Right. So now I've gone basically to a 16-8. So, I stop eating at 8 o'clock at night, and then I have lunch at noon the next day.
Yeah.
And I feel so much better.
Yeah, it's
not trying
easier.
To cram it all in.
Yeah, it's easier when you do something like that. I mean, the thing that I learned with Gourmet and working with him for a month was just eating enough. Because he's like he looked at my chronometer, and he basically said, "You're not eating enough. You should be eating probably at least another 600, 800 calories." So like, it was just, okay, I can do that. And like, we talked macros, and I was losing weight, and then Christmas came, and of course, I dabbled, and it was one of those things where it was just like, okay, all right, I can't do this anymore. So
it's holidays are tough. Thankfully, most of my friends and family are fairly supportive. I was actually gluten-free for, I don't know, 5-6 years before I started keto. And to be honest with you, being gluten-free is probably more of a inconvenience than anything else. Like, I'll just go to a family function now and just eat any of the protein that they have. And have salad. It doesn't bother me not to have the cake and the pie and everything else. So.
It was. So when I started working with Gourmet, I was at 434. I got down to about 425 in about 2 weeks. And then all of a sudden, boom, that day or two of like eating and just, dabbling was just like, that was a 10-pound weight spike. So clearly something, and this is one of the things I learned with my body is, during that, if like I eat stuff I shouldn't, one, I'm going to get inflamed as all heck. And like, I learned that last week when I had that little bit of Rebel, is I've had 2 ankle reconstructions.
Mm-hmm.
So like I get inflamed in the the area between my third and fifth toe, where it's just impossible for me to bear weight. So like really like understanding, okay, well if I dabble, or if I have high oxalate veggies or something like that, then that's going to be a consequence.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a learning curve, and like anyone who starts keto, they need to understand that it's not going to drop overnight. It's a lifestyle, not a weight loss program, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's just my take on it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if the key to success on keto is actually realizing that,
Mm-hmm.
because like so many people have said, you have to be healthy to lose that weight.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the way it works. And if you can lose weight eating Twinkies all day, if you're in a deficit, but you're not going to be healthy. And,
Yeah.
you're not going to be losing the weight the way you need to, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So that's a great story. Like I said, I've heard it multiple times, and it never gets old.
Yeah.
So one question now, if you were to look back when you started, is there any kind of advice that you'd like to give to someone, like specific, what you wish you'd known when you started? Or
I think we talked about it, where it's just like you don't really need. I mean, the sweet stuff is great, but if you give it 7 to 10 days and you just stick with low carb, just like try to stick with basically just clean ingredients. Like if you start clean, yeah, if you really want something sweet, yeah, grab, part of a Lily's chocolate bar if you wanted to do that. If you really have a hankering for something other than that, just try to stay clean about it.
Yeah, definitely. I think that I agree for sure. It's trying to completely replace everything those first couple of weeks can really.
You certainly can.
That'll lead you right down that rabbit hole where you're right back in the fridge looking for something else, or
you're spending $42 on a 10-pack of Keto Mana, which is just like genetically modified crap.
Yeah.
But it's nut butter.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Yeah, nut butter is is definitely my weakness.
Yeah, so. I remember like the first couple of weeks of keto, just like counting out how many almonds I ate, and like, and now it's like, I really don't have any desire to eat, like nut butter or anything like that. Like I used to like go ham on like macadamia nuts. I mean, because they're good, the fat content's good, they're relatively clean, and it was it's. Now I just don't have a desire for it.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Okay, well, this has been a great conversation.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on here.
No problem.
I was thrilled when you offered to do this. I'll put some links down in the description for your Instagram, because I know you're always posting up some nice steaks that you drove over, and I don't know, is that anywhere else people can find you, or is it mostly on Instagram?
You can find me in the Keto Man's Club on Facebook, John W. Oakes. And I'm trying to think where else. I think that's it.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well, I'll put those links down in the description, and then I'll send you out a link once we get this uploaded to YouTube.
Cool.
We'll go from there.
All right. Thanks, man.
Okay, thanks, John.
Yep.
Have a good one.
Yep. See ya.
Goodbye.